BBC News, I'm John Shea. A defiant President Putin says the United States is ignoring his fundamental security concern that NATO has ambitions to expand eastwards. Speaking publicly about the tensions over Ukraine for the first time since December, Mr. Putin said Washington wanted to contain Russia and even drag it into war. The White House spokeswoman Jen Psaki said the US hopes dialogue will continue.
We have seen the buildup of troops at the border. We have seen them move troops to Belarus on another border. And our role in the United States is to work with other countries around the world to keep that border diplomacy open, because certainly all of our preference is to de-escalate and to prevent an invasion from happening. But that is up to President Putin to make that decision.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has warned that any Russian invasion of his country would lead to a full-scale war in Europe. He's been hosting Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson for talks in Kiev, the latest senior Western politician to show support. Speaking after the talks, Mr. Johnson had this message for Russia.
We are keen to engage in dialogue. Of course we are. But we have the sanctions ready. We're providing military support, and we will also intensify our economic cooperation, because we are a firm and enduring ally of Ukraine and a supporter of Ukraine's territorial sovereignty and integrity.
The President of Guinea-Bissau says the situation is under control after a coup attempt which he described as a failed attack on democracy. Addressing the nation, Umaro Sissoko Embalo said the attack on a government building in Bissau, where he was chairing a cabinet meeting, had lasted 5 hours. Our West Africa correspondent, Mayeni Jones, has this report.
Standing in front of a lectern and surrounded by officials, President Embalo was keen to reassure the citizens of his country as well as the international community. He said the coup attempt had been well organised, but that the government was now back in control. He added that some of those involved in the failed takeover had been arrested, but didn't give any details. There have been at least 9 coup and coup attempts in the former Portuguese colony since 1980. The region has experienced a resurgence of military takeovers in the past 2 years, with the armed forces seizing power in Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso and Chad.
Tonga is imposing a COVID lockdown after the Pacific island nation, which had been virus-free, recorded 2 cases. The Prime Minister said the measures would be reviewed every 2 days. The 2 men who tested positive had been working in the capital's port, where humanitarian aid has been pouring in after last month's devastating volcanic eruption and tsunami. This is the latest world news from the BBC. The pharmaceutical company Johnson & Johnson and 3 major US drug distributors have agreed to pay about $600 million to settle lawsuits by Native American communities devastated by the opioid crisis. More than 400 tribes sued, claiming they were inundated with highly addictive painkillers. According to analysis by The Washington Post, Native Americans were nearly 50% more likely to die of an opioid overdose than other citizens. The White House has condemned a spate of bomb threats against a number of historically black colleges in the United States. The FBI is investigating. No explosives have so far been found. Gary O'Donoghue reports.
More than a dozen historically black colleges and universities have reported receiving bomb threats over the past 36 hours, just as America begins to mark Black History Month. A number have moved back to virtual teaching for the time being while the threats are assessed. Some of the colleges had already been the target of such threats last year. The Democratic chair of the House Homeland Security Committee, Benny Thompson, described the situation as disturbing and disheartening.
Brazilian police are investigating the murder of a young Congolese immigrant who was beaten to death in Rio de Janeiro after demanding unpaid wages from his employer. Moise Kabagambe's killing, which was captured on video, has caused outrage. His mother said the family had fled brutal violence in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but her son had ended up being equally badly treated in Brazil. British scientists have warned that even if global warming is kept to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels, more than 90% of the world's coral reefs will still be wiped out, unable to recover. Using new, more powerful climate models, the researchers say a 2% rise would destroy them entirely. The reefs are home to a quarter of the world's marine wildlife. BBC News.